another episode of Tag Paid Go. As always, I'm Scott, and today I'm going to have a special guest on the show. Chad Lott from the Scary Thoughts podcast is joining the show. Chad's an avid reader and has some book suggestions for you for your extended quarantine. I'm also going to talk about the movie The Invisible Man. I'd like to welcome back to the show Planet Jumpaline, our sponsor, Planet Jumpaline. Don't jump into your future without Planet Jumpaline. So today I'd like to welcome Chad Lott to the show. Chad is the co-host of the podcast Scary Thoughts. You can find them at scarythoughts.org. They're on Instagram, iTunes, and Twitter. Chad is going to give us some of his favorite book selections to read while we're all staying home during this quarantine time. But first, Chad, tell us a little bit about what Scary Thoughts is.
Scary Thoughts is a horror movie podcast hosted by a couple of good-natured nihilists. We look at pretentious auteur films, gory classics, and low-budget oddities, pretty much anything dark that delights us. You'll like the show better the more you know about weird fiction, black metal, and depressing philosophy. My co-host is Mark Cate. He's an experimental musician and feminist from Canada. He balances out my psychedelic libertarianism quite nicely. Episodes come out about every 2 weeks, and you can listen on most podcast apps. Whatever you're listening to this on, I'm sure will be fine. Follow us on Instagram at scarythoughts.podcast.
It really is a fantastic podcast. I strongly suggest it. So, Chad, you've compiled a list of your favorite books to pass along during this quarantine. Is that correct, Chad?
Yeah, I got a list.
Perfect. But before we get to that, have you booked a tax specialist for your 2019 taxes? Planet Jumpaline has tax representatives taking calls from their at-home tax facilities to ensure everyone's tax questions are answered. Have a tax question? Don't jump to conclusions. Call Planet Jumpaline today. So I want to talk a little bit about something that's very personal to me that not many people know about. I wear glasses. The Invisible Man is available on video on demand right now. I did a search to find a proper streaming option. I found one. I hit play. The movie starts off sort of campy, very nutty professor, but extremely violent. I got about 30 minutes in and realized that Elizabeth Moss is not in this film. Come to find out, I didn't rent The Invisible Man. I rented The Invisible Maniac. See what I did there? This movie came out in 1990. Well, I was already 30 minutes in and I did pay for it, so I finished it. What did I think about this 1990s sci-fi slasher film? I'll tell you as soon as we hear from our sponsor, Planet Jumpaline. With locations now around the country, Planet Jumpaline can jump ahead of the competition. Don't be fooled by imitations. Call Planet Jumpaline today. So we talked about Chad's book collection, and we discussed The Invisible Maniac. Ugh. Now we're going to hear a song about the two. Sit back, kick off your leather-bound slippers, and enjoy. This song's called Clear, Not Clear.
This is a song about being invisible. You can't read a book without being invisible. It's not a lesson taught. It's not a scary thought. It's not a thing you can see with your own eyes. This is a song about being invisible. You can't read a book when that book is invisible. A self-help nihilist, simple survivalist. It's not a thing you can see with your own eyes.
does it for another episode of Tag Paid Go. I'd like to thank Chad Lott for taking time out and introducing us to his Scary Thoughts podcast and for his great book recommendations. Again, that's Scary Thoughts on your favorite podcast app. I'd also like to thank our sponsor, Planet Jumpaline. Jump into your finances and plan it properly with Planet Jumpaline. I'd also like to thank all of you for listening. Subscribe on iTunes or Spotify or Google Podcast and leave a review. Reviews are really, really super helpful. Everyone stay safe and healthy. Till next time, Tag Paid Go.